And now,
more You Talk now.
Hey, I'm in the studio today with Marc Ang. Marc is the leader of Asian Industry B2B. I think I got that right, Marc.
Absolutely.
And it's an organization that engages professionals to impact communities. When did you start this? What motivated you to start it?
I started in 2017 when I was a member and board member of many different organizations. I wanted to plug into a group that was doing something business and also charity, kind of like the Rotary, because my dad was a Rotarian.
All right.
I saw that model was getting older, and I wanted to be around young people and to impact the community that way, and with a business solution. Didn't really find that, so I started my own, and it's taken off. So God has really blessed our organization, and we started it as a organization that attracts people of faith in business, and it's just grown like crazy. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Good. Well, you and I met at a local screening of a film called Trafficked. Now, I'd heard about the film. I hadn't had a chance to see it. It's a powerful film about human trafficking. Your organization sponsored not only that screening, but you've sponsored other screenings. And if I'm not mistaken, you're good friends with the producer, Conroy Cantor.
That is correct.
Why this film? Okay, you have this organization, business people, and you're trying to impact communities, trying to help people with different issues. But why this topic? Why this film?
I think it's a timely topic, first of all. There's been a lot of busts recently. One was in Irvine, which is only a city away from where I live. I live in Tustin. And
of course, that's Southern California, for those outside of Southern California.
And Irvine and Tustin are not places where you think there would be human trafficking.
Okay.
But this kind of woke me up to a very intricate ring that is out there that involves businesses. It involves gated residences, and a very quiet underground network that eventually got busted. But it's shocking when you find out how intensive that was and how it was right under our noses, kind of like hiding under plain sight type of thing.
And it is a national and international issue. This is not something that's just relegated to Southern California. I mean, we've got problem areas. I mean, there's hot spots in each state, and I think my understanding is there's certain regions of the country where it's hotter than others, but this is not just a local, thing.
Absolutely. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere if you think about a young girl who is trafficked, she probably hits as many as like a dozen points of, stopping, and as she gets moved around, when people the whole name of the game is to move around so you don't get caught, right?
All right, so it's frequent moving. It's how long do they stay? Is there an average of where they stay in one location before they get moved?
That's really just depends.
It's random.
And in fact, we just did the screening, which you were at in San Bernardino, which that is a hot spot for a transit point, essentially, because there are a lot of motels there, and there's a lot of crime in general. So
right.
The local police enforcement has their hands full, and so and a lot of times the motel owners are in on it as well. So these type of things, or they turn a blind eye. It just really depends. You cannot look at one city and say, "Oh, this is safe from the problem." It's it's everywhere.
It is everywhere, and it's under the radar. I mean, some people know about it, some people don't know about it. I guess two questions. First, is there an average age?
I don't think there's an average age.
Okay.
I mean, really, it's all the actual number will probably shock you. It's probably around 8 or 9.
8 or 9 years old. That's crazy.
You see all those missing children. I mean, a lot of times, they are.
That's heartbreaking.
It is.
Now, is it relegated mainly to females, or is it male and female?
It's both.
Okay.
Obviously, the females will be the bigger percentage of it.
Right.
But young boys are also getting trafficked.
Okay. It's a challenge for law enforcement. It's a challenge for faith-based organizations. It's a challenge for parents, for educators. I see things. I guess I'm more in tune now after seeing the film, which was it's a heart-wrenching, powerful film. It's based on a true story. And, of course, the film is available. You can see the trailer online. I believe the film was available, too. Is it on Hulu?
It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon.
Prime, yes.
Okay.
So one can stream that and, watch the movie in its entirety. What I love about the movie is, I was just telling Amber this, it really chronicles three women from very different backgrounds.
Yes.
From different socioeconomic
right.
and racial backgrounds and national backgrounds, because we'll have one girl from Africa, one girl from India, and one girl from the United States, from very different situations. And the girl in the United States probably will shock people, that story. And you'll I hope I'm not spoiling any giving any spoilers here, but
spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. She was under foster care.
That's right. I remember that. Under
foster care, the people that were supposed to protect her did not, and actually sold her as a commodity.
Yeah, I was shocked when I saw. I mean, I shouldn't be. Maybe I guess I should say I was surprised, because I know that kind of stuff goes on. Especially traveling both nationally and internationally. But yeah, I thought that was a very unique take. What is it if somebody sees this film? What is the takeaway that you want? An average person, and they somehow see this, they stream it, and they see it. What is it that you would hope and your organization would be the takeaway?
I would hope that the people who watch this video become more informed about tactically the different ways trafficking occurs, and also to be mad and actually do something about the
make a difference.
Yeah, and yes, exactly. Just like your tagline. And that's so important, to have that emotion of sadness, anger, and channel it into something positive and that helps. And
sure.
And for us, on a larger level, on a macro level, we have many of these showings in different geographical areas and open it up to the community so they can see this movie, learn about the issue in a deep way, because that movie in its 1.5 hours or 2 hours really kind of gives you a crash course of how it happens. And when the community is aware and understands how it happens, then they can do something. They can spot, this situation is off. It's just a simple understanding of what goes on. And yes, it's ugly, but we have to know the ugly in order to combat it.
Sure. It's almost see something, say something.
Exactly.
Let's come back to that, because we are all, like you said, our tagline is "Are you mad? Are you making a difference?" We're all about making a difference, changing the world, and I believe people listening today want that. They're it's like, hey, what can I do to make a difference in this situation? How do we bring attention to awareness? Maybe is a better word, to this heavy topic about. Without fear. You mentioned Amber. She's our intern here at UTalk Radio, and she's sitting in with us today. And we had a conversation about this, and she was talking about how some of her friends, it's almost affecting the way they do life. It's like, I can't go here, I can't do this. I'm, kind of a paranoia almost. So how do we bring the awareness without causing that toxic fear?
I think that is something that our society really needs to get better at, because we're flooded with negative images constantly. So people get kind of overwhelmed and then they shut off. And like you said, they can have certain responses that become more like, let me be a hermit and not engage with the world, right? Yeah. And that's no good.
No,
it's
not
kind
at
of
all. Like
those people who are psychosomatic, who always think, there's something wrong with my health, and then they create problems. That's not... I think that there is a spiritual component to this. I think, there's a lot of ugly, but we have to know how to cope with it, and also to trust God that we will be okay.
Okay.
And we need to actually not be debilitated by fear, because our brothers and sisters out there, through that fear comes inertia. And we just don't do anything, and then the bad guys are out there. They're being active,
yes,
and they're like I said, hiding in plain sight. Who knows? In those situations, maybe if a trafficked girl is in a gated community, she may be brought out to go, shopping for for groceries.
Yes, sure.
So you're at Stater Brothers, and you see, something a little off,
right?
If people were aware, they could spot that, maybe call the cops, and then save a life, right?
So that's that. Keep going with your life. Live on. I mean, I've done a lot of international traveling, and sometimes people say, "How in the world can you go to these
So much
places?
risk.
There's so much risk." First of all, I'm the big guy, and I'm told I'm an intimidating Italian-looking guy, which is fine. But it does help. But you can't stop living, and yet you can't be paranoid in everything you see. Oh, that could be that. It's just having a balance.
Exactly.
To what you see and an awareness. I really like that because it is a real thing we can deal with. It's interesting because we actually are going to have the opportunity to go into a girls' prison, which will go unnamed. And I was told by some of the leadership there that there's actually, and it's a maximum security kind of situation, where there's actually some girls that have been trafficked in the prison. Now, I guess I'll ask you that question, and it may be rhetorical, but to me it seems like if a girl has been trafficked, why should she be in prison? So there must have been other things around that crime committed or whatever. Is that from your knowledge and your perspective on this?
Yes, a lot of people think of the trafficking issue as possibly black and white. You've got a person that's doing the trafficking and then the trafficked, which obviously that's the case.
Sure.
Really, they're taken away from their homes. But through the course of things, you end up having some girls in the ring become kind of the connectors. Okay. So a lot of times, a girl can get trafficked through making an online friend that's another female who says it's safe to engage with a pimp.
Okay.
And that's kind of how, maybe some of the girls in the prison may have been accessories to the crime.
Okay.
So that's one possibility.
That makes perfect sense, and it's hard for me to believe. I mean, obviously it happens.
And in the movie itself, I'm sure you saw that scene in the beginning, which, spoiler alert again, but there was the lady who, in the Indian brothel, who was kind of managing the young girls. Right. So, they call them mama sans, they call them whatever. Yeah. So in our modern American society, that exists in the form of other girls, usually of the same age. So we're talking about teenagers that have a friend that's like, they're like, oh, how did you buy that nice handbag? Oh, well, come meet my friend. Yeah. And then that's where it starts. Yeah. And then they get hooked on drugs and they hook, on an addiction to a certain lifestyle that is portrayed as glamorous, as, it's easy money, or, and that's kind of where people can fall in. And then the other one is the Romeo scam. You have a boyfriend that is, that's all sweet and gives, gifts and chocolate and all of that for a few months. Then suddenly turns like Jekyll and Hyde and then says, well, why don't you hook up with one of my friends? And then that's where it starts. And then, it's heartbreaking. But this,
I was going to say that earlier. It's heartbreaking to think that somebody like one teenage girl would turn on another one, for that, and it's almost like you've experienced it. Why would you want to bring somebody else into this? But that's the world in which we live. And what can we? We've opened the door. We've kind of given a broad overview, and we're going to have to talk more about this because the topic warrants it. But what can we practically do to be able to make a difference in our world when it comes to human trafficking? And I know, obviously we could talk about law enforcement, but somebody, just your average person, that's going to college or whatever, and what can they do? What can we do as we live our lives? But we want to bring awareness to this, and we want to make a difference.
I think it's important for us to get connected to our communities. The community is the biggest way to blockade all of this. Because if a community all knows each other, and I know that's lacking in Southern California, which is very big, spread out and impersonal, because we're all in our cars. We have, thankfully, we have church communities, we have interest communities,
sports communities, and that's exactly, across the country. Although we're probably a little bit more isolated here than in other parts of the country, but there's these communities that are there.
I'd say be active in those communities and talk to people and discuss these issues and know what's going on. Know what's going on in that motel down the street that seems a little iffy, and keep your eye out. Or, when when you're in the store, when you are, at a public park, to spot things and to call it out if needed.
Okay. So it's not really something that you would see on your campus, because somebody who's trafficked is not going to be able to go to school, or are they?
Well, yes, and I'd like to definitely bring that up. When high schools and colleges, that's a hotbed for these traffickers for
recruitment.
Exactly, to recruit. And like I said, you're in school and you're just going about your day, and you see that girl that's that's dressed real nice, and you're like, how does she buy all that stuff?
Yeah.
Why can't she just get anything she wants?
Yeah.
I have to go to my mom and dad for my allowance, and and so the allure of things that are maybe shiny, and that's why it's important as parents, for parents to talk to their kids, for kids to talk to their parents, to really be skeptical when going on an off-campus party, for example, things like that.
So it's not isolated, really. I mean, I guess you could see the film, or you could see something online, a report or whatever, and think, well, this is kind of an isolated. I mean, it's a national, international, but it would never happen on my campus, but it is. So then if you see something, you mentioned parks, the mall, a grocery store, school. If you see something, what do you do? Who do you go to?
There is a hotline,
and
I don't have that number handy right now, but we can.
We'll put it up on our website.
Please do.
Yeah, if you go to utalkradio.com, you'll find it there.
There's a hotline where you can talk to people and report something that is off kilter. Definitely talk to the leaders within your community, people that have, for example, your principal, your teachers, your people that are vetted and are in the community.
Okay. Law enforcement,
pastor,
whatever.
Exactly, all of these.
Coach.
Exactly.
So obviously, I mean, this is the underspoken thing, but don't go try to intervene or do something. Yeah. Tell somebody else that's trained, that's equipped.
Exactly.
Because it's a bigger issue, and it's a personal safety issue, but don't ignore it. Don't pretend like, there's, somebody else will take care of it. If you see something, better to say something to somebody who can filter it and look into it than to just let it happen, but don't try to intervene.
Exactly.
Because it's not the safest thing to do. So we can make a difference in helping you. And again, we want to remind you that if you do go to utalkradio.com, we will post some of these different resources, the hotline and other things, and some blogs to be able to inform you what you can do, how you can, maybe even signs. Here's some signs to look for. If you see this, this, or this, it could be, not necessarily, but it could be somebody who's being trafficked.
Absolutely. A lot of times it's young girls that don't have the love from their parents, or from, or they feel that they have to get that from a boy. And, these people are trained to, basically, they're love scams at the end of the day.
Yeah, to offer that love, that missing love. Yeah,
exactly. So it's really important to have something, other than that, and, friendship, parents' love, a connection with God. I mean, all of these
community.
things.
You mentioned that earlier, connecting your community. Here's another example of it's important for all of us to have some kind of community, even if it's 4, 5, 6 people. Maybe it's 2 other people, but a community where we can feel loved, we can feel like we matter, we can feel like we're accepted, and it's a group we can trust.
Yep, that's the best antidote to this problem.
Yeah. No. Marc, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to be here in the UTalk studio. And again, we appreciate what you and your colleagues are doing through the Asian Industry B2B and impacting communities. We're right alongside you there. We'll have to continue our conversation. And if you are struggling with this, maybe you've avoided it or whatever, get a hold of us. You can get a hold of us on social media at UTalk Radio. You can call us 855-508-8255. That's 855-50-UTalk. Reach out to us, utalkradio.com website. Just do something. We're here to help you. We want to be that source where we can help you make a difference, but also help you if you're struggling with this. Again, Marc, thank you, and we'll look forward to future conversations.
Thank you, Steve.
UTalk Radio.